we go. Good evening, guys. Sorry we had a little technical difficulties on my end here. But we're going to get to the countdown and get the show started. Let's go.
It's our first Tuesday night spectacular of the NFL season. The 5-minute countdown, so everybody can join us. We can share with our friends, family, and others. All of the followers out there of the program. And I'm sure Chris is excited to announce the different ways you can watch the show now. Chris, tell them all about it.
We're officially on Spotify. So I will post the link how to get to our page on Spotify. If you can please like and follow us. And that way, if you miss one of our shows, you can always listen to us while you're at work, on the way to work, on your way home to work, and wherever you're going or doing. You can always listen to the show. I've been trying to figure this out for a little bit now. I'm so happy I finally cracked it.
Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, what else?
Twitch. We used to be on, I forget the other one now. It's not Twitch.
Twitter? Which is
we
now
used to be on Twitter, but Twitter started charging people.
Yeah. Hi, Ron! It is time. Chris, great to be with you, sir. How was your overall football weekend?
How's everybody doing tonight?
Good. How was your overall football weekend?
The first Tuesday. Hey, guess what, Ron? Guess what, David? What time is it?
It's 7:13 p.m.
No, it's Victory Tuesday on the Tuesday Spectacular. So we're going to light that Victory cigar. That's what we're going to do. You should bring one.
It's way too early in the season for you to get up on a high horse like this. Okay. You know. I know that you guys won, and I find it interesting that the first playoff game that you guys played last year was against the Rams, and you play the Rams the first game of the season, and then the next week you play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. So I find that very interesting. And yes, sir, Lions Chiefs Super Bowl. That is the preseason prediction from me. Of course, I have the Chiefs winning that game. I'm sure you probably have the Lions winning. But everybody looked rusty this week, and I'm sure we'll talk about every game here. But, Chris, let's talk about injury news first. And I am just bewildered that as soon as Jordan Love gets paid, he gets hurt. And so, they're playing the game in Brazil. He's trying to get rid of the football any way that he can. And he gets twisted, and you see something pop. I thought it was his ankle. I thought he had dislocated his ankle because he's writhing around on the ground, and he may have, and they may not have said anything about that. But, they did whatever they had to do to snap it back in place, I think, and then they walked him off the field and helped him, but they say it's a sprained MCL, 4 to 6 weeks. And they don't really have a backup quarterback unless they go to the guy on the practice squad, Chris.
No, they're in a crappy situation. And like we talked about our preseason predictions, I think we both were pretty high on Green Bay. I know I was, and I felt like we were going to have to compete with them week in and week out for that number one spot in the North. This don't take away their playoff chances by no means, because obviously – as long as they can stay afloat and he can come back and they can get back to winning games, they're still going to be in the mix of everything and have a chance at a wild card spot. But it really hurts them for the beginning of this season to make a run. And it kind of sucks because, I enjoyed beating Green Bay when they were 100% last year, and I would want it the same way this year. Yeah. So I think this kind of blows for everybody, but you go from him having this injury, and then I agree, Ron. Malik Willis is garbage. I mean, he got traded to the Packers. The Packers are going to give him a fresh slate. I think the reason that he got traded to the Packers is the Packers would like some sort of a bona fide backup, somebody that's been in a backup position that has started some games. And LaFleur came over from being the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. I don't know if they were still running the same kind of offensive system, but he was, under Arthur Smith, LaFleur was. And Malik Willis learned the offensive system under Arthur Smith, so maybe he does know some things.
I was thinking there was a chance that they would bring in Ryan Tannehill because I definitely know that he played under Matt LaFleur when he was OC there. Excuse me. But the money may be just too rich for their blood in Green Bay to bring him in. It doesn't sound like they're going to be making any changes. Yeah. But, we moved from Jordan Love and his injury to the next big injury that happened this last weekend or slate of games, if you will. And that is Puka Nacua. Hurts and re-injures his knee. No timetable necessarily. They put him on injured reserve, which means he can come back in 4 weeks, but he will not play for certain over the next 4 weeks of the season. That means Cooper Kupp goes back to being the standalone number one receiver there for the Rams, and which damages, their overall season outlook. Because, we had them being neck and neck with the 49ers, near the end of the season. I think we both expected that they would, not play their top brand of football coming out of the preseason. Nobody did. At one point in time, I had, the Rams beating Detroit the opening week, and I basically talked myself out of it. What do we got here? Yeah, I agree there. You liked it for our game, but hate it for the kid. So, go ahead.
I was listening because before we did our money league, they were in. I was listening to a fantasy show and they were talking about Nacua, and they said his knee injury was an injury he could play through. But they said that from what they've read and studied upon on it, that they said that it would bother him throughout the whole year. And unfortunately, in the game Sunday night, he heard it a lot more than they expect happening. And now, he's going to miss the next few games. So
they got to give him a chance to heal up some, or it's going to be a real problem throughout the year, and it may end up being a real problem throughout the year. Just because they put him on short-term injured reserve doesn't mean, maybe they're just hoping for the best. But no, I think that the biggest story, and I apologize that I keep coughing, but I think the biggest story from the weekend is smart-ass Tyreek Hill. I look at what happened. I'm sure everyone has seen the footage, but let's recap briefly.
I can share the video. We can do that.
Really? You have we only need to see the beginning up until the part where he gets put on the ground. Do you got it?
Give me 2 seconds.
Well, while you're doing that, let me tell you, okay, I think that if he was speeding through like a construction area, which it looked like there was some construction going on, they could call that reckless driving. He's obviously speeding, but he can't speed that much considering the amount of traffic that was there. It's not like he was zigzagging through traffic, But for a moving violation, I think it's been said by everybody in the media, there is no reason to yank a guy out of his car because he won't leave the window down. Okay?
Here's the thing.
Obviously, okay, police officers are human. Okay?
Yeah.
All make mistakes. Okay? And we're sometimes easily set off. But with, extra officers there, one of them should have calmed down the situation. And instead, they all look like they're bored and needed something to do. So driving while black, and he got a little bit of an attitude, and let's put him on the ground and put him in cuffs.
Here's my thing. This is before I got the video up, ready to go.
Okay. All right.
I just want to say this real quick. With the cop's completely in the wrong of how he went about it after he got him out of the car. But you have to look at this both sides. And this is not the 90s anymore. Cops are literally getting killed every day, just like somebody's getting shot by a police officer, somebody around the United States at the same time. So you have people on both sides of this. That makes it nervous. And when you're in a tenant window, because in Miami, Florida, it's legal to take your windows. So it's not like they can look through the window and see what he's doing. I mean, come on, he's an NFL receiver, so the cop, for one, shouldn't be thinking that he's going to get shot or any crazy shit's going to happen because
he already had his ID. He had handed him the ID. Yeah. Okay. And you have a person of celebrity, of course, that doesn't want pictures taken of him being pulled over. It's hot, so I'm sure he's got the air conditioner running and, would like to stay as cool as possible before he's got to go out and sweat his balls off for the entire game. Hill did talk, yes. Okay, so Ron says, I've watched it time and again. Why did it leave so quick? I've watched it time and time again, and Hill talked a lot of shit. But I think it was a little excessive on the one officer's part. There's plenty of blame to go around here, and I agree with that. But at a certain point in time, they should have de-escalated the situation because he already had his ID, okay? He wants, because he's being a bit of a smart ass, it sets off the guy, but he's not even the one that yanked him out of the car. It was a completely different officer that yanked him out of the car. Okay. Yeah. Why was he getting involved when the first officer technically had everything under control? Okay. Yes, he was talking to him. He's got an expensive fucking car. He doesn't want his window beat on, which is understandable, but he should have lowered the window down. He obviously was already on the phone with the head of security for Miami Dolphins, whose name is also Drew, not his agent, Drew Rosenhaus.
That's who I thought he called.
Yeah, no, okay. That's who John Smith called. Okay, that's who John Smith called because he's his agent and they knew he was in town for the first game. I think he might even be based out of Miami, you know. But when you have, he pulled in front of the vehicle. He gets out of the vehicle. He comes over to ask what's going on. He's on the phone. He clearly doesn't have a weapon in either hand. Get back in the car. Get back in the car. And he's backing up. And he's like, well, what's going on? He's just asking a question. Cops refuse to answer what's happening. They, tell him to get back in his car. If he doesn't get back in his car, he's going to be arrested, which means they fully intended to arrest Tyreek Hill because he said, you'll be arrested too. So Tyreek Hill was going to be arrested. The whole he's just detained situation is a lie on the part of the police officers. Okay.
Yeah, once the big boss came in. But let's get to the video real quick, and then we'll finish. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, here we go.
Hey, don't knock on my window like that, man.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on?
Don't knock on my window like that, though.
Like what?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up?
Don't knock on my window like that.
Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. That way you can lower it and talk to you.
Just get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm finna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Keep it down. Hey. Keep your window down. Hey. Keep your window down.
Don't tell me what.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. We'll break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 Damn. What part of brother you understand?
Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting arrested. I'm getting up, bro. God damn, twin.
When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand?
I'm getting out,
you understand? Not what you want, but when we tell you. You're a little you.
I'm getting out, bro.
Too late.
Chill,
Too late.
All right, bro. Take me to jail, bro. Do what you gotta do, bro.
We will.
Good, bro.
It is good.
Hey.
Don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. Stop crying.
Bro. Y'all.
Come on.
Good. Bro, you beating on my window like you crazy. Why y'all beating on my window like y'all this far? Damn, yo, bro. Bro, dude, beating on my window like he crazy. I ain't do nothing, twin. Damn. Hey, hold on, pull to the side, Joe. No. I'm gonna have Hey. Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. Bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro.
I just had surgery in your ears when we got there.
Chill, bro. Hey, don't do, bro.
Back up.
Hey, call Drew.
All right. Okay, so then, so there you go, okay? Beating on his window like crazy. That got him upset, once again, he could have handled it a little bit differently. Okay, Ron says the media has blown up everything a cop does these days, and this is where we have to analyze by law who's right and wrong. Miami dads were right to put this officer on administrative leave right away, but other officers are just coming into a situation knowing there is a potential confrontation. Okay, well, yeah, but, there's no reason, okay, once again, you could say that they don't know what's going on. Yeah, Miami-Dade County Police. You could say that they don't know what's going on, okay, but he's already on the ground, on the curb, and ends up in a chokehold later, okay? The guy's holding him down like he's going to go somewhere. When his teammates show up because they are asking questions, they are said that they're going to be arrested, it just feels to me like they're looking for a reason to take somebody to jail. You've got these black guys that are driving nice vehicles. They're just trying to get some information, but, one of the guys is 350 pounds in Calais Campbell, and you see a big black guy coming towards you. You're probably going to be nervous, but there was no reason, in my opinion, for them to be nervous about Tyreek Hill. He already had his ID, so he wanted to roll his window up. He isn't going to – if he does speed off, you have his ID, okay? You have his ID if he speeds off. You're supposed to be headed back to your motorcycle to do whatever it is that you're doing, but he wanted to escalate the situation because he rolled his window back up.
That shit.
I just think that the whole thing is rotten. Now, you got Drew Rosenhaus is on a bunch of different stations. They're, talking about how Tyreek wants to turn this into a learning situation and make things better for, the community because, what if he wasn't Tyreek Hill? And he's right. What if he wasn't Tyreek Hill? Okay. 100%. I mean, this is about as close as coming to the George Floyd situation as you can get, and the entire thing's on video. Everybody knows what's going on. The Miami-Dade police released the video immediately so that there was no conflict of interest. They can't be, held accountable for their officers doing the wrong thing. Everybody is in, what do I want to call it? They're in recovery mode, salvage mode, trying to save everything, because at this point, there's going to be lawsuits. There is no doubt in my mind. Once again, I think that Tyreek Hill could have been a little bit nicer about things, but I'm sure he was pissed that he got pulled over. He was late to the game. That's why he's all like, I'm going to be late, so he's in a hurry. And then there's people filming, going by with their cameras and everything. And so, he has a history of, being involved, in criminal activity, if you will, with the allegations of beating on people. He's a black guy that's got a bunch of different baby mamas. So that just the overall view of him is in a negative light, but he's a superstar athlete. So everybody thinks he's going to get special treatment. Did that look like special treatment to you, Chris?
No.
Yeah.
That was, I could see if he was more aggravated, aggressive. But all he did is really talk a couple smart-ass comments.
Yeah.
It wasn't even that smart-ass comments. There was no need to bang on his window. There was no need to threaten him to rip him out of the car. There was no need to grab him like that. The motherfucker said he would get out of the car, and excuse my language, I didn't mean to drop that, but, he literally said, I'll get out. He didn't even have a chance to open the door.
Yeah, and the other officer opened the door, grabbed him, pulled him to the ground. Then he puts his knee on him to hold one of his arms. There's 4 cops there. Like how many guys does it take to arrest an unarmed, short black dude driving a $100,000 sports car in downtown Miami that obviously is heading to the football game? The stadium is right there.
Exactly. And let's be honest. It is Hill. If he was going to run from you on feet, he would outrun you, and he wouldn't be there for you to grab. Just saying.
I mean, he could have outraced him with the car, but there was so much traffic. Hell, in the first video that I saw, and the bike is going, and zigzagging and speeding past cars to catch up to him. He comes up alongside him. There was nobody in front of him. He could have just kept on trucking along to the stadium and made the cops meet him there. But he pulled over. So anyway, do you have any final thoughts about this? I just think the whole thing is stupid.
No, it's just hopefully these players, learn, and I'm not saying it like he's wrong, but I'm just kind of, Shannon. I listened to Shannon Sharp this morning, and I was listening to Nightcap with him, LJ Cinco, and they were talking about this. And, like he said, when he always left, like when he'd go on a game day at home, you got a time limit. And if you're past that time, you're getting fined, you get in trouble. If you're late for the game, you got to be there 2 hours before game time. All players must be there 2 hours. Shannon Sharp said that when he played, he would be there 4 hours ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because he would make sure he would beat all traffic because he didn't want to deal with speeding or the cops or have any of them circumstances play a factor on him getting to the stadium on time. So he always woke up. He always, made sure he was there in time. And, so hopefully these players learn to manage time a little bit better. Just so, you're not in that predicament to have to speed, to risk to have to even deal with the cop. Because, if he left a little bit earlier, he wouldn't have got caught in that traffic, and he wouldn't have been worried about being late for the game, and he probably wouldn't have been speeding, and this whole incident probably never happened. But, it's still not his fault it happened, but you get the drift I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears to the next thing, which is Christian McCaffery. Christian McCaffery, they knew, and it comes out later, they knew that he wasn't going to start on Friday. Now, you've got all these fantasy football leagues out there. Some of them are monetized. You have bets on teams, bets on players. The league is in bed with the gambling now. And
can I say something?
You've got a player. Go ahead.
And the only why I bring this is because you bring up betting. And I'll tell you right now, if you're on a site that didn't let you get out of that bet with McCaffery not playing, don't ever gamble there again. Because I did a quick parlay with Christian McCaffery and Bruce Hall. And then when McCaffery came out not playing, I went to go see if I could cash out that bet early and get some of my money back because I thought I was, screwed because I placed this way ahead of time, you know what I'm saying? And when I went there, it was automatically voided, and I was credited my money back. Good. I didn't have to do nothing.
Yeah.
So to me, at first, I wasn't that mad about it. I'm still not mad about it. To me,
right.
That's just ultimate fuck you, Jets, because you planned for this guy the whole time, and you got this guy, and we still ran the ball down your throat.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, but the deal is that they're in bed with the gambling and everything, and there is supposed to be an injury report. He wasn't even listed as doubtful, okay? He wasn't listed as anything, and they knew that he was supposed to be not starting on Friday because that's when Mason was informed, and now he's getting in trouble because he told everybody that he was told Friday. The coach is trying to cover it up. The league's going to have to investigate. And, I listened to Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio this morning, and, he is a former lawyer. And he's like, at some point in time, this is going to come back and bite him in the ass because, they are not being held accountable for to keep everybody on the up and up to what is going on. There's an injury report for a reason. There's a spread for a reason. There is a lot of different things that, was hush-hush for years, and now it's all out in the open when it comes to the gambling on sports. And yet they are walking a very thin line that one of these days is going to come back and get them. This is a controversy, in certain circles.
Oh, well, for sure. And I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
I mean, for us fans, I can see fantasy being a big issue for us. I can see sports betting being a big issue for us. I don't think the NFL really gives two shits about fantasy or the betting of it. But because you have to remember back in the day, I mean, let's go back to Brett Favre. Why did Brett Favre have to go to rehab? Why did Brett Favre couldn't take painkillers like everybody else when he hurt himself and he had to play through all the pain with no help? Because back in the day, the Packers were just saying, hey, here's some Oxycontin, here's some Vicodin, here's this. They were just feeding him, pain meds so he could play every Sunday. And it wasn't just the Packers, it was the whole league back in the day.
It still is.
and it still is to a certain extent. But now what it is that injury report puts it on record that the NFL knows about it so they can pay attention if they notice some player over here doing some stupid stuff and looks like he's out of control, that maybe they know what the source is. And to me, I think it's better to protect them from lawsuits and that nature as well. So I think that's more the issue why he wasn't on that injury report than actually anything else. Because, in this day and age, you can sue for anything.
Well, let's go through and discuss all the games that happened this last week, beginning with the Thursday night game, the Baltimore Ravens at the Kansas City Chiefs. And, as I said a little bit earlier, I think everybody's a little rusty. My takeaways from this game were Derrick Henry cannot run the football out of the shotgun formation. That's the first thing that I've discovered. Maybe it's just Kansas City's defensive front is that good, but I think that they are going to have trouble unless Lamar Jackson is under center to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry. I think that, that's going to be a dead tell that he's the one supposed to get the ball, because when they try to run it out of the shotgun, he doesn't get that running start up into the line before he gets it handed to him, and the defense is on him that quick.
Well, you're also talking about, you got to look at his size as well.
Yeah.
And now he's older, banged up. He's went through the ringer, all those carries, all those abuse he served in Tennessee,
Yep.
He's just not that type of back anymore. And if you want him to run out of that formation, you got to add a fullback in that mix.
Mark Andrews is being used to help the left tackle in a lot of pass rushing situations. And that means that Isaiah Likely is now the new number 1 tight end in Baltimore. He was making plays all over the field. Him and Zay Flowers are a really great duo for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. But I think that defensively, I think that the Ravens did not necessarily miss Patrick Queen. They got a guy named Trent Simpson who's taking over for him. He's the one that batted the ball in the air that Patrick Mahomes had to catch, but otherwise it would have been intercepted. I think their defense was pretty good, although they had a blown coverage, which allowed Xavier Worthy, who is now the fastest man in the NFL, and we'll get to my joke at this time about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill heard that Xavier Worthy was now the fastest man in the NFL, and because of that, he decided to go out and drive his car over 100 miles an hour so he could reclaim his spot. Thank you. Anyway, Xavier Worthy looks like the real deal. The end around for 1 touchdown. He did make 2 catches, or 2 or 3 catches besides that. One of them was for another touchdown. And the Chiefs did this without Marquise Brown. They were able to run the ball a little bit. They used their speed. Mahomes did his normal thing. Travis Kelce made the crazy catches when Mahomes had to get out of the pocket and couldn't, find anybody else, trying to avoid the rush. And I thought it was a great game. It's unfortunate it ended on the last play with the toe on the line. Had he got that touchdown, Baltimore was going for 2, Chris, and it would have been a winner-take-all situation on the 2-point conversion.
I was hoping for that because I had a parlay, and even though it would have never worked anyway, and I kind of wanted to go to OT, and then once I seen him going for 2, I was like, no, because I betted the spread. And I didn't want to. I wanted, if they went to OT, I wanted them to go to OT, but I did not need them to go for 2, and then I would have lost my bet. So thankfully, that toe was on the line. I won my first bet of the season that night.
Now hang on, don't talk about your bets yet. We'll do that after the games. Yeah.
Ron
you
says,
lucky devil, you.
Ron says, was it just me, or was Lamar running the ball more than I thought he would on Thursday with their new weapon? He's going to get hurt. Oh, for sure. I don't think Lamar has not the confidence, but how they were talking to him and how he slimmed down. He did that on a purpose so he could be faster and run the ball again, because I think in his mind – he threw the ball more last year than he ran, and he still lost. So now he's got that. I think he's going back in his mind like, I'm just going to take everything in my own hands, which that's all. He's done that every year except last year, and last year was the only fucking year he was healthy in the playoffs. So all
right. So during the broadcast, Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth mentioned that during the production meeting, he slimmed down to be faster this year because he blamed himself. If he'd have been more mobile, he thinks they'd have beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game last year. And so that's the reason that he's doing that. But him taking off and running and all that other stuff, obviously it affected the Chiefs a little bit, but they started to spy him. Yes, he wasn't, didn't get, sacked a whole lot. Chris Jones got there the one time with the fumble, that started the Chiefs really, taking over the game. But I agree with you. I think that he's going to run around. He's going to get hurt, against some of the better teams. Now, I think that Baltimore is going to be one of the best teams in the league. I think they played the Chiefs on opening night. While people thought maybe there was a chance they were going to win, all these teams have some learning and growth to get throughout the year to be the finished product for the playoffs. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we've seen these two again. In fact, it's my, prediction that Baltimore plays Kansas City in Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We move on to the game in Brazil, which did not disappoint. A lot of points put up. Aaron Jones was not super effective against the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. Packers got a lot of receivers. Jaden Reed is the number one guy for the Packers. Saquon Barkley, they are ruining the day in New York that they let him go, just like they said, on Hard Knocks in the offseason with the Giants. I don't want to wake up and see what he did. And, of course, they let him score 3 touchdowns in the game. Both quarterbacks looked rusty. They both turned the ball over. Of course, Jordan Love got hurt at the end there. But I think the better team did win the game. And but I expect both these teams to be in it near the end of the season, just like we talked about before. The injury to Love is going to cost them some games probably. But if he can come back at full strength after the injury, I still think that they'll be in line for a wild card.
Barkley finally gets a team that can block, and he'll take advantage of it all season. Definitely.
Our first upset, really, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers who started started Justin Fields up over Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's dealing with the calf injury, and they're already saying that he's probably not going to start the next game also. Falcons' offense looked very sluggish. I thought that when they decided to run the ball, they looked okay for the most part because you're playing against a very talented Pittsburgh Steelers defense. TJ Watt was a one-man wrecking crew. Boswell hit 3 50-yard field goals and 6 overall to put away the Falcons in Atlanta. They just got to learn from this experience and move on. I think that, I don't know if it's the system, if it's, they didn't really play a lot in the preseason. We'll have to see how things turn out this next week when the Falcons go to the Philadelphia Eagles, because they're going to be playing another really good defense. Was Kirk Cousins the answer or not? It doesn't look like he is after the first week.
Yeah, but it's still early. One game don't break you.
Arizona Cardinals had an early lead on the Buffalo Bills, but Josh Allen put the Superman cape on, ran for 2 touchdowns and threw for 2 touchdowns. Tyler Bass connected on a couple of field goals. Kyler Murray fumbled the ball when they had an opportunity to, really put the dagger in Buffalo early on, and that turned the tide and gave Buffalo the momentum. The one interesting thing for Arizona in this game, DJ Dallas returned to kickoff, the new dynamic kickoff, for a touchdown on a kick return. So we know that the kickoff return, there are several games where they just decided to kick it into the end zone. That happened in the Chiefs game. It happened in the Eagles game. But a lot of the games, they allowed some returns. And a lot of them, I would say, didn't really hurt, anybody. there was a real good play, and the ball would always end up somewhere around between the 25 and 35. And but DJ Dallas had the one kickoff return for a touchdown opening weekend.
Yeah. Nope. I still think the Cardinals are a good team, and I think they could make some little bit of noise.
The big surprise here, 1 catch, 4 yards, Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay. Not good for the fantasy team. Not good for the Arizona Cardinals. He's supposed to be their number 1 guy. They picked him, with the 4th pick in the NFL draft, and he gets 1 catch in the opening game. Not good, Chris.
I mean, I don't think they're going to good and they're going to make it anywhere this year, but I still think by the end of the year they're going to be a feisty team, still some wins from some people. He's also a rookie, so I wanted Bell shit, Not every rookie's going to come out the gate, swinging home run balls.
Yeah, well, and also in that game, I didn't think that Buffalo used the kind of game plans that they were using at the end of the season last year when Joe Brady took over as the offensive coordinator. I thought that they would utilize James Cook a lot more. And so, they did run him a little bit, but he did not get the depth of carries that I thought he would. Maybe it's because they were down so much early. But I never saw, swing passes, screen passes to Cook. Those things, he was a weapon in the passing game last year. Didn't see those things against Arizona. Hopefully they'll get back to doing those things because I think that James Cook is a really good player as a starting running back for Buffalo.
I was really surprised that they didn't use Kincaid as much either. I mean, it's making me kind of freak out about fantasy a little bit here, but I figured he would have a pretty good year since, what's his name's not there no more, Diggs. I thought he would be a key piece of that offense. And it's kind of starting to make me a little bit nervous now.
Strangest game of the weekend. You've got this one here, the Chicago Bears and the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
Okay? You got the Chicago Bears did not score an offensive touchdown. Okay. They returned a block punt for a touchdown. They had an interception return for a touchdown. They got, Caleb Williams throws for less than 100 yards. And Will Levis is just looking for people to throw the ball to. So that he could throw an interception. So this was really crazy. Tennessee had this game well in hand. Chicago come back from a 14-point deficit to win the game. So I didn't see much out of Caleb Williams. I know he's a rookie. It's his first start. Tennessee has a decent defense, but Chicago's defense was swarming. And so, I think that they are still just as good, if not better than they were last year. Their special teams were on point, and it was special teams and defense that won this game. They did not use DeAndre Swift like I thought they would, because they kind of rested him during the preseason and let Khalil Herbert get the bulk of the carries. Well, that's the way it turned out in the regular season too. And Tennessee was able to stuff them for the most part. Swift, I know, can be a dynamic back if they get him the ball, on the run, out of the backfield, in passing situations. But those things did not materialize for Chicago in this game. They're lucky to get the victory in Caleb Williams' first start.
It's not looking good. Their offense, to me, was kind of what I expected it to be. I still don't expect Caleb Williams to be all that good. We'll see, especially with them hyping him up, saying he could be the first rookie to lead a team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
So hopefully the Bears defense can manage to score this many points week in and week out, and they might have a legit chance of this. But they need to figure something out, because if you're trying to sell that rookie quarterback like you've been trying to sell all offseason, he needs to show up.
Second big upset of the day, the New England Patriots go into Cincinnati and win the game. New head coach Gerard Mayo has got to be super proud of his guys. I think they're on a mission to prove to everyone that was saying that they're going to be the worst team in the league that they're wrong. We already know it's still the Carolina Panthers. Anyway,
Right.
I just think that the wide receivers not practicing affected the game. They did not have the kind of running game that they are used to having with Joe Mixon. Zach Moss did score a rushing touchdown, but, Joe Burrow looked kind of rattled the whole time. They don't have an offensive line apparently still. I thought that they had fixed their offensive line problems over the last couple of years, but New England was swarming him. Just big upset in Cincinnati, and now the Bengals have to go to Arrowhead to face the Chiefs. Good luck there.
Yep, it's not looking good for the Bengals. I said it earlier that I expected the Bengals to come back and play bully in the North and be right back in there in the thick of it. But after watching them week 1,
I think it's still Baltimore.
It's still going to be Baltimore, and they'll be lucky to be a wild card team playing like that.
Yeah. Really close game here. A lot closer than I thought it would be. I didn't think that Anthony Richardson took off and ran too much. I thought he did just the right amount. He's got some good receivers on the team. Jonathan Taylor played really well, scored a touchdown. The Texans did not overwhelm with their new offense, and all the new offensive pieces and defensive players that they brought in this year to be one of the favorites to get to the Super Bowl. They just kind of eked this one out. And, you take a look here. I thought C.J. Stroud played just fine. Joe Mixon ran crazy on the Colts. He's going to be a big-time player for them all year this year. Stephon Diggs scores 2 touchdowns in his debut. They did not get the ball to the other receivers like I thought they should have. Nico Collins only had a few catches. And so we'll just have to, wait and see on what's happening here with Houston. But I think the Colts, they've got, if they play like they did this first week of the year against some of their other opponents this season, I think they got a real chance to be in the wild card hunt.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to point this out because I think to me we've seen it in the Lions game, we've seen it in the Houston game, we've seen it in a lot of these games. With these players not playing in preseason, it does affect them in week 1, and that's all I think. That's how this game was that close with Houston. I also think the Colts might be better than we all thought they would be as well. But I'm not worried about Houston. I still think they're going to be a young team coming up in the AFC. And they're still going to be in the playoffs this year. And they're not going to be just a pushover team. I still have high hopes for Houston.
Yeah, just catching up on some of our comments here. Ron, thanks for joining the show and being involved. What do I think Buffalo thinks after watching Worthy? What are we doing to ourselves? Because Keon Coleman had, a half a dozen catches, but it wasn't for a whole lot of yards. And, as far as Barkley finally gets a team that can block, and he'll take advantage of it all season there for Philadelphia. Barkley was fire. Tennessee had no business losing that game, but give it to the Bears for hanging in there. But their offense was garbage. I agree. Ron had Houston beating Indianapolis badly. Boy, was he wrong. On a side note, I'm about tired of this illegal formation throughout the league, which is outrageous in some of these games. Well, you know what? They called it a million times on Wanye Juwan Taylor last year of the Chiefs in the opening game, but then they didn't call it on anybody else the rest of the year. And they were supposed to be a point of emphasis to make these guys line up. Don't let them take off early. Don't give them other advantages, extra advantages. The offense has been given tons and tons of advantages through the rule book and through the different changes that have been made over the last several years. It's finally time that the defense wins one when it comes to these penalties. They know where they're supposed to line up, and they're still doing it, and they did it repeatedly in the Baltimore game. They did it repeatedly in the Giant game, And so, hey, how hard is it for you to remember next time you go to line up on the line, how about move up just a little? I mean, 6 inches would have been enough for half of these guys, and they just – nope, I'm going to stay here, and if they call me, they call me. It's just like they were playing stupid, Chris.
Yep. For the record, I just want to throw it out there. You know what? One O-line that didn't get that call?
Detroit?
Yes, sir. Because we know how to line up.
Moving on here to, Tyreek Hill. I just had surgery on my knee, but I can run 80 fucking yards for a touchdown, Now, I believe that he had some surgeries and shit on his knee, and he didn't want to, be put on the ground awkwardly. I'm sure if they would have allowed him to be set down gently, it would have been no problem. But them throwing his ass to the ground, getting back on that topic, Jacksonville had this game in hand. Travis Etienne fumbles the ball going into the end zone. All the momentum goes back to the Dolphins. They end up winning the game. I thought that the running defense of the Dolphins sorely missed Christian Wilkins, who went to the Raiders this offseason. I thought that the wide receivers for Jacksonville looked pretty good. Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie, looked pretty good. Gabe Davis was involved, but they did not get Evan Ingram, their tight end, involved much in the game. It was a lot of Travis Etienne, a little bit of Tank Bigsby, who finally showed up, and then Brian Thomas Jr. But Etienne fumbled that ball, and that turned the whole game on its head. Dolphins end up winning the game, Chris.
Yeah, it was a great game. And I got to give it to Hill. Hill had the best touchdown silly year so far.
Yeah, the celebration there with the hands behind the back. I scored. Take me to jail.
It was the most biggest fuck you that you could have done. And that was awesome because, that cop's at home right now, about to lose his job.
Mm-hmm.
And he had to see he's probably a football fan. And he probably flicked on SportsCenter, and there's old Hill doing that touchdown silly in the end zone. And he probably, now it's just haunting him. So it's good payback.
Carolina Panthers, still the worst team in the NFL, get blown out 47-10. Derek Carr looked like an all-pro quarterback back there, throwing 3 touchdowns, mistake-free football. The defense dominated and was swarming Bryce Young. I was impressed with how much they dominated this game. I thought the Saints had a chance to blow this one. I was convinced that Carolina had added the pieces and they were going to do something, to make it a close game at least. No, sir. Any comments about this blowout?
Yeah, I was actually shocked. Unfortunately, at home I get the ticket. Unfortunately, my daughter's birthday party was on Sunday. So I was watching football on YouTube TV and DirecTV. Fortunately, I did not get this game. And I was kind of really pissed about it because it looked like a good game because I didn't draft nobody from the Saints for fantasy purposes.
Neither did I.
One reason is their coach. I think their coach sucks. He throws his players underneath the bus. And I'm like, and then I see the score and I'm like, holy shit. Where did the Saints come from with this game? And then this made me also realize that everybody was like, oh my God, Ben Johnson's not taking another head coaching job. Carolina was one of the runners.
Yeah.
Just like Washington was.
Yeah.
You know, this is one reason why I didn't go to Carolina, boys. Because he knew this shit. So here's the real question is, when we call it sorry, I got a notification. How long until this owner fires another coach midseason? Does he do it this year?
No, I think that he's gotten too much bad press about it. I think that Carolina does have some pieces, but it's the opening game. The Saints have a good defense. I think that everybody's been writing the Saints off after they performed poorly last year. Even we did. We wrote them off. I wrote the New Orleans Saints last year. I said they were going to win the division, and they turned around and gave it away to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay?
Yep.
And so this year, I'm just like you. I didn't draft anybody in my fantasy league on that team. Now, I still have Derek Carr in my dynasties as my backup quarterback, but he's only going to play one fucking week out of the year unless Mahomes gets hurt, you know? Yeah. And so I just figured, why switch him around? He's serviceable. I don't have to worry about, anything. But you look at this game and you're like, they're playing the Panthers. Remember who they're playing. They're playing at home. It's the opening week of the season. They're running a new offense. Clint Kubiak is the new offensive coordinator in New Orleans. So nobody knows what kind of tricks of the trade he's bringing in there, even though, you could probably bet it's going to be some combination of the Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan offense, which is also the Matt LaFleur, offense, Rams, 49ers, old school Denver Broncos, zone blocking schemes for the running game. And that's why they were able to run the ball decent. The defense did the rest. You got 200 yards passing and 3 touchdowns, mistake-free from Derek Carr. And he wanted all the smoke, according to Facebook, some of the clips that they were showing, where the Panther players were running their mouth. And he's like, look at the scoreboard, honky. And so I loved that, But let's go ahead and move to the next one because, why are we spending so much time on the blowout? We know what's going on there. Daniel Jones is trash, okay? Flat out trash. I had the Giants beating my Vikings in opening week because I haven't seen Sam Darnold play like this. I thought there was a chance that he could. He's playing in the same system that he played in last year because he's playing for Kevin O'Connell, disciple of Matt LaFleur, disciple of Kyle Shanahan. He was the backup quarterback in the 49ers last year. He never really had to play, so he got to sit and watch for the first time in all the years he's been in the NFL, okay? He got to sit and watch. And now he's sitting on the sideline, and he was supposed to sit and watch. J.J. McCarthy was showing everybody he could do it, and the next day, well, Sam, you're the starter. And so he goes in. I thought that, earlier I called freaking Josh Jacobs Aaron Jones. I feel stupid now because Aaron Jones is with the Vikings. And when we were talking about Philadelphia, I just realized it. And so, Aaron Jones looked like a decent runner, but they had a lot of split time with Ty Chandler. Justin Jefferson was as dynamic as ever, but Jordan Addison got hurt in this game. There's a chance he may be out this next week. Looks like it could be either an ankle or a knee issue. We'll have to wait and see what's up with that. But, they got to welcome the 49ers to town this next week. They can look good all they want against the Giants. I know they beat the 49ers last year with Kirk Cousins. I think it'll be a different story this year. And we'll talk about the games next week when we finish up the recap of this last week.
I think the Vikings got lucky with the Giants. But Sam Darnold can play like that in, game out. Minnesota might be a lot better than I had them. I think even you had them. They might be a whole different story. We just have to see, take it week by week.
Only the Chicago defense right now is keeping Minnesota from being in third place. That's in my opinion when it comes to the end of the year. So, if Minnesota's defense could play well, and they did, former Dolphin linebacker Van Ginkel picks off Daniel Jones, runs it in the end zone, but a touchdown. They got Brian Flores' defense there look pretty damn good. And maybe it was just them. We'll have to see. But Jim Harbaugh gets the win in his first game back in the NFL as head coach of the Chargers. The Raiders looked exactly like what I thought the Raiders were going to look like. They tried to run the ball with Zamir White, and he was a bust against the Chargers defensive front. Minshew tried to get the ball to, Jacoby Myers. He tried to get it to Devontae Adams, and the ball gets tipped away. The pass rush kept getting to them. Overall, I thought that while I thought the Chargers could have played better than they did, because they sure didn't get the ball down the field to their receivers, because all their receivers are basically new on the team. McConkey, Quentin Johnston, last year's rookie, and then Palmer got ejected because of a fist fight in the end zone with one of the Raider players.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And so, but the surprise for me was, and I feel like shit about it, because I thought that Gus Edwards was going to be the featured running back for the Chargers. They brought him in from the Baltimore Ravens, and then it was like a couple weeks later that they signed J.K. Dobbins, who has had an history of injury problems, and it's Dobbins that ends up being the featured runner, and he ran all over the Raiders except when he tried to go straight up the middle against Christian Wilkins. If they ran the outside or off tackle, he was off to the races. And so
I wonder if Christian Wilkins, he's starting to regret that offseason.
So, I just think that the Chargers, they're looking good because this next week they're going to play at Carolina. Once again, we'll talk about those games when we're done here in a minute. Talk about last week's games. I thought Bo Nix played okay. The problem is he's checked down Charlie for Denver. They never threw the ball more than about 10 yards down the field. Most of them were 5 and 6 yard routes. They ran the ball a little bit with McLaughlin and Javonte Williams, but their defense is what kept them in the game for the most part. But Seattle just overwhelmed them at a certain point. Charbonnet ran the ball well. Walker ran the ball well. Geno Smith was really nothing special, but he did take off and actually have a big-time touchdown run in the game. And so, I think that Seattle is not as bad as we thought they were going to be this year. I think Denver's a little bit better than we thought they were going to be, especially with Bo Nix. But they have got to protect him long enough to give him a chance to throw the ball further than 5 or 6 yards down the field. These receivers have got to get open. And so, that's just my outlook going forward. Seattle deserved to win this game. Denver had its opportunities and could never capitalize.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to see what both teams do in the upcoming weeks. Another game I wanted to pay attention to because I wanted to see how good Bo Nix was going to be.
Yeah.
I still think he's the best bet for QB for Denver, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. But, he's a rookie player. It's his first game to play the entire game against a legitimate defense in the NFL. So, there's things to grow and learn from every time that you get the opportunity to play. And that's going to be that way for all the rookie quarterbacks, all the rookie players in the league. You're not going to be the same player by the end of the season that you were at the beginning. Hopefully you grow and you don't get, fearful and turn into David Carr where you're sacked 71 times in a season because, the rest of the team is letting you down. I had this one wrong. I really thought with the contract issues, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott, that that we were going to see a fully healthy Deshaun Watson take over and win against Dallas on opening day. But they signed CeeDee Lamb and got him his contract. They signed Dak Prescott the day of the game, and then they proceeded to do what the Dallas Cowboys do. Their defense looked really good. It didn't look like they missed a beat from last year, even though they've got a new defensive coordinator. But Deshaun Watson did not play well as a quarterback. They were able to run the ball a little bit with Jerome Ford, but it just felt like Jerry Jeudy couldn't get open. Amari Cooper dropped the football. They didn't feature David Njoku like they had been when Flacco was the quarterback last year at the end of the year. And so their offense was just kind of running in slow motion, and that's why Dallas went into Cleveland and won the game.
Yeah. I'm just going to flat out say it. This is a make-it-break-it year for Deshaun. If he can't play the whole year and get Cleveland to the playoffs and do something, Cleveland looks like the biggest dummies in all football once again for giving this dude that money. I think they're really screwing themselves because you know what just happened today? Or I don't know how true it is, if it's 100%. But
another allegation.
There's another allegation now. And now here we go again. And he's going to be dealing with the shit off the field and trying to play football. It's not looking good for Cleveland. I had very high expectations for him. But I'm telling you, after week 1, I think I lost them all. Because I don't see a silver lining after what I seen. Because I did watch that game.
Signs of life in Washington at the quarterback position. Washington, while they did not play super well, Jaden Daniels ran all over the field, managed to score a touchdown. I thought that they demonstrated that this is a team that can do something over the next few weeks. I think that Daniels is going to learn quickly. I think that they're going to improve. It depends on the schedule and who they're playing. But, I thought that they played pretty well considering Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield were shooting on all cylinders. They come out of the gate and looked great. I know they were just playing against the Washington defense, but they were playing at home. But, Detroit Lions might be in for a fight this next week against the Tampa Bay Bucs.
I'll take it. We'll take it.
Okay.
We ain't scared.
And then, of course, we got, the Rams. We get to overtime, and a lot of people are all like down on the Rams suddenly because nobody played in the preseason. You played an entire game. The defenses are dog-tired. I'm telling you, whoever won that coin toss was going to win the game. The Lions threw the ball one time in overtime. The rest was give it to David Montgomery and get out of the way. And the Lions ran it right down their throat for the victory in overtime. I think that even though Puka is hurt, I still think we're going to see both these teams near the end of the season in the chase for either division titles or wild card hunt. I loved what they did. They started the game with David Montgomery and softened up the defense a little bit. Then they turned on the speed with Gibbs for the majority of the game. But when the tough yards were needed, when you needed the ball security, when you needed to rely on a veteran to put the dagger in, they gave it to Montgomery at the end and took care of business.
Yeah. And, I know people want to jump off the board. I could have told you this game was going to go like this. Stafford was not just going to lay over and take that. He got beat. in Ford Field by the Lions in the playoffs and had to watch all of our success. You know what I mean? There's a lot of emotion on both sides of that field. I knew that was going to be a hell of a game, and Stafford came to play. LA came to play. They took us to OT, yes. And, our offense was sluggish. It looked real good early on, then it got sluggish. But, this is also all of our starters went from 0 to 100.
Yeah, J-Mo looked real good in the game. They had to get it to him because they were doubling Laporta and St. Brown all night long.
And guess what?
I was disappointed because I was hoping to get some good, fantasy points out of Laporta. And, he just couldn't get open. They were tackling his ass before he could get off the line. Which is legal because it's within 5 yards.
Well, and for everybody who has Laporta and St. Brown, just sit back and relax.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm doing.
Because now J-Mo's already showed teams. Take them away. Watch what I can do. I'm faster than both.
Yeah.
So who are you going? And that's, to me, that's the point I wanted to bring up because that was the hugest takeaway from the Lions. As finally a team took Laporta and St. Brown out of the picture for pretty much the whole game. And our team was able to still find ways to come up with the points when needed and win the game the way we did without those two players. And to me, that is huge. That is huge for the Lions. Because if you go back to last year, St. Brown was one of the biggest reasons why we won every game. Plus the running game, plus Laporta.
Ron's killing me with his comments. Here in New Mexico, it's nothing but the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl after week 1, just like it is every year. Yeah, that's pretty much the way it goes until they lose to somebody like Arizona out of nowhere, and everybody's like, what happened? And then he's got another one here that Super Bowl or bust for the Lions. I'm getting too old not to get one. Well, I hope it works out for you guys. If we can't win, I hope you guys do. But if we see each other in the Super Bowl, I'm sorry, it ain't going to happen. We're going to get.
I would have it any other way, and it would be. And I would love to host that show and be like, "Hey, this could have been yours. This could have been yours."
Yeah,
but it's not.
Yeah.
J-Mo's going to put on a show this year, and when they start doubling him, Laporta and St. Brown are going to flourish. I'm not even worried about our running back. That's money. Got that right.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, even if he lost a step. He pulled the old fast get off the line move with a touchdown pass to Alan Lazard. Breece Hall fumbled the ball early and didn't really recover from that, but although he did, play well and score a touchdown later. San Francisco, of course, pulled the old fast one with Christian McCaffery not playing in the game. I was disappointed in the way Brandon Ayuk played. You pay him $30 million and he drops a pass in the end zone for a touchdown. That's bound to happen when you ain't been practicing. Yeah. But still disappointing there. I just thought that after the first 2 drives of the game, the New York Jets gave the fuck up on defense. That's what it looked like to me. I thought they played them tough early, and then they're just like, they don't have the will to be the defense that they need in order to be able to coexist with the kind of offense that they've got to be a threat to get to the Super Bowl. And I texted you and I texted Ron and several other people. I'm listening, in on the NFL on Sirius XM radio, and they got, moving the chains, and there's a sports update, and the guy on the sports update says a possible Super Bowl preview tonight between the New York Jets and the 49ers. I laughed so hard. Talk about overhyping the shit out of the game last night. 49ers won the game easily. A lot of good kicks by Jake Moody. San Francisco still looks like the defending NFC champions. Now, I think the Jets look way better, especially offensively, than they did last year. But once again, the defense, they're playing all the way on the West Coast. They haven't played a full game. They look like they had the spirit taken out of them early. They never recovered.
And the one thing I'm going to add here is one thing that irked me with Aaron Rodgers is I thought he played pretty decent. You could definitely tell he's lost some of his craft, I felt. But the fact that at the end of the game, he literally went to the sideline and the backup came in. Now, normally teams do that all the time. You've seen it happen before, but what I thought was pretty fucked up was all the other starters were out there. Bruce Hall, I think, had a 10 to 15-yard rush on the very first play when the backup checked in. And the only starter I truly seen not playing the rest of the game was Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I think they were trying to protect him. They knew the game was out of reach. They're trying to protect him, and they want to give Tyrod Taylor a chance to play against some live competition. And he played pretty good. They got a touchdown to Allen Lazard with Tyrod Taylor in there.
Yeah.
Ron, I would agree with you, but it's never going to happen, okay? There's too much of a risk of them getting injured in the preseason. They would rather slug it out the first couple of weeks of the season, and have some poor performances than get, a major player injured because they went all out for a game in the preseason. They used to play them in the preseason in the past. They learned their lesson from the ACLs, the hamstrings, the growing injuries, the concussions, the Achilles, all of those things that happened because they're playing all out without kind of a build-up. They let them play a little, and then they get them out, and then they let them play a little, and then they get them out, and then they don't play them at all. And then when you play the first game, there's a lot of rotational on the defense, rotating receivers in and out. The guys that don't get rotated is basically the offensive line and the quarterback once we get to, the start of the season. But, I agree that, it would be nice if they did that, but I think they're just looking out for the best interest of everybody by not doing it.
Yeah.
And so, real quick, let's talk about your bet, Chris. Chris, you did it, buddy. A 4 anytime touchdown, parlay, right? You had Jonathan Taylor. You had, did you have Tony Pollard?
You guys see that?
Bringing it up.
You see that good?
You need to zoom in on it. Well, I mean like the whole window.
How about now?
I don't know. Maybe other people can because I'm in the studio. I can't.
Let me see how it looks on Facebook.
Yeah, let me look on Facebook too. I've got it right here. I can't see. It's too small. Of course, I'm on my phone.
Okay.
Devin A-Chain.
Okay, so
Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, and Aaron Jones all scored a touchdown. $10 wager, $316. You lucky devil. All right.
Yes, I ended up winning 350 in total on Sunday. I bet the spread in a few games, hit 2, won this one, and I think I might have won maybe one other. But this, I plan to do parlay just like this every week. And what I did is I looked at the matchups, the running backs, and if you noticed, I picked anytime touchdown scorer. Now, just be careful if you pick running backs, or not running backs, but quarterbacks, because they can throw a pass, they ain't going to count.
Yeah, it's not throwing. It's got to be a receiving or a rushing on any time.
So
or
that's
unless
why
it's a kickoff return or something like that to also.
Yeah. So that's why, if you noticed, I picked all running backs because receivers are hard to hit.
Yeah.
But
I made 76, or I made after my bets and on my return, actual money that I am ahead. I'm ahead $51 after all the bets that I made. I started with $25. I had 76. My one bet that I did good on, I had Breece Hall, I had Deebo Samuel, and I had the 49ers winning. And DraftKings had a parlay boost on the game, 50% parlay boost. So for $5, I made $50 on that particular bet. But I had Jaden Reed scoring a touchdown in the Green Bay Packers game, and I'm playing it's the pool for the year type of thing, where you do the pick'ems every week, which is new for me. And so I played that. I got 4 out of 5. Cincinnati screwed me, with the New England Patriots, or I'd have had all 5 because I picked what I thought was the 5 easiest games. And I will mention that when we get done talking about this week's games. But I wanted to talk about my personal videos. If you go to my page and you see I have the Picks with David videos, and I picked 7 games this week. And of the 7 games, and we're going to show them here real fast, hopefully, I got 5 out of 7. I went 5-2, had the Chiefs, had the Eagles, had the Bears. That one was lucky. I was rooting for Pittsburgh, but I really thought that Atlanta was going to win and overwhelm them with their offense. I didn't expect to get any offense out of Pittsburgh, which is kind of the case considering all the field goals. But they didn't have any offense. And then we talked about me being completely wrong about the Cleveland Browns and Dallas. But you talked me into the Detroit Lions, bro. And that gave me 1 win. I was sure San Francisco was going to put it on the Jets. And so there is Picks with David for week number 1. And we'll have a running tally here on the video weekly, hopefully. But now we're going to talk about week number 2 in the NFL. The games, we're going to start, of course, with the Thursday night matchup on Amazon Prime, and that is the Buffalo Bills are visiting the Miami Dolphins. Let me get it up here. And just on first glance, this is kind of a revenge match because Buffalo went into Miami last year and beat Miami with the chance for Miami to win the division. And so Josh Allen hurt his hand in the game, but he is still a full participant or whatever he will be in practice. He is not limited, according to the coach at the press conference today. Hopefully Tyreek Hill won't get arrested or detained on the way to the game. But, for me, I think that because of the way that Buffalo acted at home early on against Arizona, the way that they did not use James Cook, I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins here, Chris.
I'm going with Dolphins because I'm not 100% sold on the Buffalo's offense because, once again, Allen had to become Superman for them to get the victory last week. You're versing a team in Miami in prime time in front of their fans. And we all see what that offense can do. So and guess what? They're up to game speed. They played a real game now. So they'll have the ability to blow it wide open. And can Buffalo's offense keep up with it?
Buffalo's still trying to figure out receivers. They lost some players defensively. Just moving on here, San Francisco 49ers at the Minnesota Vikings. As much as I'd like to see the Vikings at least put up a fight, I'm not sure that's what we'll get. I think that San Francisco remembers that they lost this game last year, and they're a mostly intact team. Minnesota's got Darnold, who's known to make mistakes. He was playing the Giants this last week. Now he plays against a real defense. They've got a real offense in San Francisco. There's just no way I can take Minnesota in the game. I'll take the 49ers.
I'm going to roll with the 49ers, but I will say this, is Sam Darnold knows some secrets about that offense over there. So maybe that defense has a couple tricks up their sleeve for Sunday.
Well, they both know each other so well. They run the same offensive schemes, you know. Yeah. So, I mean, you know, it's up to what's the defense going to do. San Francisco's got a new defensive coordinator for the third year in a row. And then for the Vikings, this is the second year under Brian Flores. He's got a lot of new players on that side of the ball. And they showed out pretty good against the Giants, but the Giants don't have the kind of offense the 49ers do.
Yeah.
This is a sneaky good one. After watching what New England was able to do to Cincinnati, now they go home. They're playing at home in Foxborough. Seattle comes to town. Seattle struggled a little bit, with Denver. I expect New England to continue to run the ball with Ramondre Stevenson. I think that, as long as Jacoby Brissett doesn't turn the football over, New England will have a chance in this game. But can they stop the pass rush of the Seattle Seahawks, a pass rush that was non-existent from the Cincinnati Bengals, okay? I don't think they're going to be able to gash Seattle's defense with the run like they did Cincinnati. I know Seattle's going clear across the country to play in Foxborough, but I got to take the Seahawks.
I'm going to New England.
Okay.
Only why I'm going New England is for one thing. They just struggled with the Broncos. Now you got to go into New England. Now, one thing New England has going for them is that defense is always good. Yep. They got home field advantage. I don't think Geno Smith lights it up. So I think it's going to be a close, heavy, one of those grind-out games.
You got a West Coast team going to the East Coast. And so while it's a 1 o'clock start on the East Coast, it is 12, 11. It's 10 o'clock in the morning in Seattle, Yep. So, I mean, that could be a factor. Here's my upset. I'm taking the Giants over Washington. I think that they were embarrassed in game number 1. They absolutely cannot do that. I think that they will rebound. I think they'll run the football against a porous Washington defense. I think they'll be able to do that, but it's up to Daniel Jones to not turn the football over. If he turns the football over, you can just go ahead and hand it to Washington because I think Jaden Daniels is going to have a really good game. I think it'll be a tight game. Wouldn't be stunned at all if this ended up in overtime, but I'm going to take the Giants on the road at the Commanders.
I'm taking the Commanders. And why I'm taking the Commanders is Jones has lost his confidence. He's thrown 3 picks and only 2 touchdowns since he signed that damn contract. He just walked out to every fan demanding him to give him money because of how much money he's making, getting told he sucks. I think this is a good game for Washington to open for Jane Daniels to get a first victory.
Chargers go on the road to the Carolina Panthers, and of course, we've already determined Carolina is the worst team in the NFL. I think the Chargers will run the football, much like Dallas did, down the throats, much like New Orleans did, down the throats of the Carolina Panthers. I think Herbert will make some big plays. Yes, I know it's a West Coast team going to the East Coast, but I just don't see how Carolina can win this game, taking the Chargers to go on the road and win the game.
I'm taking Carolina.
Why?
Psych! I'm taking the Chargers.
Yeah, I was going to say, and here what we'll do is we'll be unanimous and somehow they'll beat them. That would be crazy.
It would be crazy, but that'll be our luck.
I don't expect New Orleans to manhandle the Dallas Cowboys like they did the Carolina Panthers. New Orleans goes on the road. They face the Dallas Cowboys. I think Dallas is very happy with the way they performed in their first game. I think Cleveland's defense is the equivalent of the Saints' defense, but it's the offense of the Saints that will be better. I think this will be a real fun game, but I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys to win the game.
I'm taking the Cowboys too. The Saints, they might be able to make it somewhat close, but I'm rolling with the Cowboys.
Now, here's the tricky one. Who's playing quarterback for the Green Bay Packers? You're going to have Josh Jacobs, who was ineffective as far as I was concerned against the Philadelphia Eagle running defensive line for a long time in that game. It took until the team was worn down and tired from the humidity and the length of the game before he was able to start getting some yards. They got plenty of receivers if they run ends around. If they do, trick plays. I don't know what you're going to get out of Malik Willis except maybe he'll take off and run. But I think that because of the lack of quarterback, even though they're playing in Lambeau, I have to take the Indianapolis Colts.
I'm rolling with the Colts just because of the quarterback, unless they pull a quarterback that we don't know they have.
Cleveland Browns at the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, once again, here's the difference in the game. If Jameis Winston plays for the Cleveland Browns because of the allegation against Deshaun Watson, that's the only way I would take Cleveland in this game. I think Jacksonville, I think they're going to have a better year this year than they had last year. I think a fumble cost them the first game of the year against Miami. They were primed to win that game, and I think that they will perform better at home against a quality opponent. I'll take Jacksonville to win this one.
I'll take Jacksonville too because I have no trust in Deshaun.
Whoa. Going to the top of the line over here. And then we're continuing with the 1 o'clock Eastern games. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets come off of the loss against the 49ers, but I think that they got an opportunity to play with him in a full game until he was removed for, safety concern or whatever, because they knew they were out of the game. Tennessee turns the ball over too much. They've got a secondary that's got a lot of experience, but they really haven't played together except in this one game. I think that they'll have an opportunity to stop the running game. Tennessee will. But I think that the Jets get their first victory of the year, go on the road and beat Tennessee.
I'm going to go with the Jets just because Will Levis tended to do some picks last week. And with Sauce Gardner and that secondary, the Jets and the defense, they can win them in this game. Ron Gott's Jets still lose my upset because
they're the second coming.
The Jets are the second coming.
When I first took a look at this matchup, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a tough one for the Lions. And I still think it will be tough, but I have to remember Tampa Bay was playing at home. Tampa Bay was playing against Washington. I'm taking the Lions in the divisional playoff rematch.
I'm taking the Lions as well.
As you should. You're a Detroit Lion fan. Here is my easiest call of the week. Baltimore Ravens over the Las Vegas Raiders. Even easier than Chargers over Panthers. If you are betting on a game this week, take the Baltimore Ravens to win. Their defense is going to kill Gardner Minshew, and Lamar Jackson and their team is going to run over them.
See, also, if you're don't know, you might want to stay away from this game. My only opinion is this. We talked about this. Lamar did run way more than he ever did Thursday night. And guess what? If he chooses to do that, against Raiders, he could be fine. But you also have Max Crosby running around there with his head cut off. So that's what
just run
scares
to
me.
the other side.
That is true.
Run to the other side or dump it all. Just keep, letting Andrews block with the tackle and dump it off to Likely and let him take off for big yards. Because I'm telling you, this one feels way too easy. And normally I'm like, this one's going to be enough. No, Baltimore wins the game.
I do think Baltimore does win because they are home. I just wanted to throw it out there.
Start of the 4:05 games, the Rams at the Cardinals. The Cardinals had a lead against Buffalo, who granted has lost some defensive players, but they turned the ball over, lost their momentum. They're playing at home, and they played everyone so tough last year. But this is a new year. It's a different team. You don't know really what you're going to get until they play a couple of games. Even without Puka, I think that, they got DeMarcus Robinson there. They've got a couple of good running backs. I'm taking the Rams at the Cardinals.
I'm taking the Rams as well. But because the Cardinals have to show me more. I just need Murray to give me some good fantasy points, and I'll be happy.
Cincinnati loses to New England. Kansas City comes around and manages to slightly beat the Baltimore Ravens. And, I'm thinking to myself, what's going on here? This should be an elite matchup between two teams. And instead, I'm like, how does Kansas City lose this game? I don't think they do. I think, Kansas City walks away with this one in the easiest matchup they've had against Cincinnati in a while.
I am going to throw this out there. And
you keep talking. I need to take a quick break. You just keep talking.
KC should win this game. But I will say the Bengals didn't have T. Higgins. Lamar Chase, he held out. He wasn't at training camp. It was also from 0 to 100, just like everybody else. So was the Bengals offense really that bad? Or was it just missing T. Higgins and Chase wasn't up to full speed? So I still think KC wins this game. But I will say the Bengals might not be as bad as we think they're going to be, and this will tell. This game will tell because it's either going to be one of the two. It's either going to be because Chase was up to speed and they didn't have Higgins. And, I mean, they still might lose, but you're going to see if they're a capable team to keep up with KC, regardless if they win or lose. I just want to point that out that, T. Higgins did not play and Chase held out. And,
he played in the game, though. He played in the game.
I know he played in the game, but he wasn't at training camp. He wasn't full speed,
Well, so I thought that the rookie Jermaine Burton would get involved a little bit in the game, and he did not. The running game, so-so with Zach Moss. But I just think that the overall team speed that the Chiefs have back now, the overall team speed that they have, I still don't expect to see Marquise Brown this week. I think they're going to hold him out one extra week as precaution. But you're going to see a lot more of Xavier Worthy. Rashee Rice is the clear number one now. I think Juju Smith-Schuster will get a little bit more involved because he only was targeted a couple of times and he dropped the ball that was in his hands. That was kind of a tough catch. But the Kansas City defense is just as good as it was last year based on the first game. And as I said before, I think the defenses are ahead of the offenses the first couple of weeks of the year. And I just think that Kansas City, I think they're going to win this one by double digits. which they have not done against Cincinnati in a while. It's been a 3-point game almost every time in the last several years.
Yeah. Oh, no, I definitely agree with you, Ron. KC at home is a hard place to win. I'm just trying to point out that, the Bengals might not be as bad as we originally thought. This week will tell if we were way off on when we talked about them or if we're right. Because if they look like shit again in this game and get blown out and not even competitive, then we know shit is hit the siren in Cincinnati.
Talk about Pittsburgh and Denver for a minute.
Pittsburgh and Denver. This kind of sucks that Russell Wilson might not play for the second week because this would be kind of cool to see him light up Denver and pay Sean Payton a little payback. This is a hard one to pick, but I'm going to probably roll with the Steelers with this one, and not because of their offense, just because of that defense and Bo Nix being a rookie. Having TJ Watt after your ass all day is going to be a tough task, and that rookie to remain calm, make the right decisions. I do think Justin Fields brings in, obviously, his legs into the mix. If he can make smart throws, even if they're not big throws, and manage the game correctly and not turn the ball over, they should be able to slug this one out. But I think the Steelers pull this one out just because I don't know if that rookie's going to be able to handle TJ Watt in his face. And you already know you can't really take TJ Watt out of games.
I got Pittsburgh. I got Pittsburgh in this game. I think that Denver will play well. I think that because Sean Payton will design plays to get the ball out of his hand quickly, kind of like they did this last week. But I think you're going to see the Steelers jumping on routes. I think that could open up some double moves for their receivers. Maybe Cortland Sutton, can get deep down the field and they can have some explosive plays. But I don't expect them to be able to run the ball very well against Pittsburgh because Atlanta didn't run the ball very well against Pittsburgh. And I don't think that, the whole 4, 5, 6 yards at a clip, with the passing game is going to get it done against a Pittsburgh Steeler defense. And so that's why I got Pittsburgh in this game.
Ron says Denver gets win number 1. TJ Watt gets hurt in this game.
What the hell ever?
I mean,
that's not
nice. If that happens, maybe, but I really don't want to see TJ Watt to get hurt because, to me, I always enjoy watching him. He's a great talent. So I hope that don't happen. I've always loved him. I would love him for him in Detroit, him and Hutch. Can you imagine him and Hutch?
Yeah. Sunday Night Football on NBC. You got the up-and-coming Chicago Bears against the Houston Texans, who are looking to repeat with a really great season like they had last year. I thought they opened the season well against Indianapolis. They showed off some of their new toys and Diggs and Mixon, but it's the defense that will have to hold its own in this game. I think they'll come out with a different game plan in Chicago. Caleb Williams will take off and run a little bit more, and I think that they will keep it close early. Chicago's defense will be tough on Houston, and we'll see a little bit of a back and forth, feel it out type of game, but in the end, I think Houston is just overall the better team. They should win the game.
I got Houston.
Yeah.
Because, the Bears, let's be honest, I'm not taking nothing from the Bears defense. That was one hell of a showing for any defense to do that scored 24 points and win the damn game. That's impressive. But they got a lot of gifts. If those gifts don't happen, they probably still lose that game, hands down. So with that being said, if Caleb Williams can't get shit going and that offense don't do nothing, comes out flat, Houston's going to roll for this game.
Yeah, because they're a much better team than Tennessee is.
And I'm just saying that because their defense will die. and they'll be out of breath because Houston brings speed. And if your offense can't do nothing on the other side of the ball, and it's just putting you back on the field, it's just a ticking time bomb before they lose the gas. You know what I mean? So it really depends on how good of a game we get, depending on Caleb Williams and the offense of the Bears.
Monday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, on paper, when they were making the schedule, I bet they were like, this is going to be a dynamite game. And I'd love it to be a dynamite game. But based on the way both these teams played in week number 1, Philadelphia is the better team. And they're going to win the game because I think that if you look and see how Josh Jacobs couldn't run the football in the first quarter and a half against Philadelphia for Green Bay, that's the way it's going to be for Bijan Robinson. He's not going to get any yards. They're going to have to rely on Kirk Cousins. We know about Kirk Cousins in the primetime games. That's one of the things everybody likes to give him shit about. And so I think that while they have the weapons to make this a competitive back-and-forth game, I think that Philadelphia has, with Saquon Barkley, I think he runs wild again. They set up the play-action passing. I expect at least one touchdown in the end zone for A.J. Brown in this game. I have this game with the score, of 27-17 Philadelphia.
I got Philadelphia too. I got to see more out of Atlanta. Ron says Philly wins this game, and the talk next week is, do we switch QBs in Atlanta?
I can see that.
I can see that too, but I don't know if that happens week 2, just for the amount of money that they're paying Kirk Cousins. Yeah. But if he can't get it going, maybe it's his leg. I don't know. Or maybe it's just the offense coordinator.
Just new offense, new players, not playing in the preseason. Everybody was rusty week 1. I think we'll get a lot better indication of who some of these teams are after week 2 is over. And we'll be sure to break all of that down next week on the Tuesday Night Spectacular right here on all of our platforms. Go through them again, Chris.
We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, all for the Goalsports. We're on Spotify. If you go, I'll repost the link for the 3rd time. But you can even go up, and the link to Spotify is on here 3 different times. Click that link, hit follow, and then by midnight tonight, or in the morning, by the first thing in the morning, the new episode will be loaded up. So if you miss us on Tuesday night, you can listen to us while you're at work, on the way to work, wherever you're at. 24/7 now access to the show. So please do us a favor, like and follow us on Spotify. It all helps, because if we can turn this into something, we'd love to put it back in the show and include everybody. So I appreciate everybody if you guys go do that for us, and I appreciate everybody joining us tonight. It's been a great show for week 1. Week 1 couldn't have been better in my book. I enjoyed all games, all storylines that I played. I'm just glad football's back. I'm glad to be here. Like I got a job again for the next 6 months.
That's what I need. I need a job. Anybody in Kansas in the Wichita area, hook me up.
Hey, everybody, go like Spotify so we can get David a job. Let's turn this show into something. Thank you, Ron. I hope you have a good week too. We look forward to talking to you on Tuesday. I'm pretty sure you'll hit my inbox on Sunday because that's what we do. But I need to go see the other beatdown on the new channels. I hear that
I think he's talking about the debate.
Oh, yeah. I love we're back on Tuesdays. Me too. I'm glad to be back on
Tuesday Night
Tuesdays.
Spectacular. Thanks for
And
joining us, everybody. Thank you, Chris, for hosting and taking care of business. Y'all have a good week. We'll see you next time.
All right, guys. You guys have a good night. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned. Like I said, go like us on Spotify. Do us a favor. We got to get David back to work. Let's go. Have a good night.